up, everybody? Can y'all hear me okay? Do a little audio check. What's up, you guys? Drop me a comment. How are we looking here? Can you hear me okay? All right. Thank you, Georgia. How's this guitar coming through? All right, so where are y'all checking in from? Got a couple people on right now. So if you're in the US in the afternoon, you are playing hooky from work. Or if you're in the UK, it's your evening, I guess. Where's everybody checking in from? Phoenix, Arizona. Moved to Babylon, King Tut. Cool. I bet it's hot as F in Phoenix, AZ right now. It's about the same here. I live just south of Nashville in Tennessee, and it's pushing 90s and death humidity. Yakima, TJ, right on. I just moved here a couple years ago. It was 25 years in Puget Sound area and Mukilteo, so I know Yakima very well. All right, Georgia from North Carolina. There you go. So listen, love everybody checking in. I totally no agenda. You know, a while back I said I was going to start doing these live streams and ask for some questions, and sort of everybody wanted to know like about the gear that's behind me and all my videos and stuff on the wall. And so I can talk a little bit about that, but I would love to hear if there's anything else you want to hear about. If you got questions or anything else, just pop them in the chat. We can go through them because I'd love to talk about what you want to talk about. But I'll start with a little bit of gear. So this guy, a lot of people ask me, what is, you know, if you only had one, you know, if you only had one guitar kind of thing. And last year or a couple years ago, I bought my first Telecaster. It's actually a 70th anniversary broadcaster, but it's a Telecaster. And usually everybody's answer for like, if you only had one guitar, what is it? It's a Tele. And I never owned a Tele my whole life. And once I bought one and started playing it, I fully got that. I fully understood. And that's totally a versatile, probably the most versatile guitar. You could dial in anything you want. And that bridge pickup is just so awesome. And the tones that you can get out of that are endless. Last year, I just got enamored by this guy. This is a Captain Kirk signature SG. He's a guy who plays in The Roots, I think, and he's on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. If you're in the US, it's a late night TV show. And Gibson does a signature model with him. And so cool. They've got a couple finishes on here, but there's so much to this guitar in terms of versatility that I don't know. I think this one might be my if I only had one guitar. And I'll tell you why. So first of all, SG, love it. Love everything it can do. It has the 3 pickup design. And the way they configure these pickups is you have an individual tone control and volume control for each, the front and the back. The middle one also has its own individual control. Sorry, it has a master tone for all the pickups. The middle one has its own volume control, and so you can blend it in and out, which I don't think is the way the normal sort of three pickup customs are. I think you always, I may be wrong, but I've heard it's a little challenging with that middle pickup because sometimes you want it and sometimes you don't. And so you can dial it all the way out or all the way in, to add a little more. It sort of darkens up the tone. And then the other awesome thing about this is you can split all the pickups. So you've got pull, you can see that there. You've got pull pots on each of the volume controls for the three pickups. So it's just endless. It's just endless the amount of tones that you get on here. So right now, this one's sort of winning in my, if I only had one guitar, it's this one. It also has, which is a little unique that most SGs don't have, it's got a master volume on there. I'm sort of about that because it sort of gets in the way a little bit, but he wanted to have that as part of his design, so you can do volume swells easily, because as you can tell with SGs and the configuration of the knobs, you got to sort of reach all the way back here, and it's very difficult. You can do a volume swell on a foot pedal very easily, but he wanted to be able to do that on his guitar, so this enables him to do that. So there's one thing I sort of am not super wild about, it's that I don't really use it for that. So, but other than that, amazing guitar. I'm so happy with it. They're totally undervalued out there, in my opinion. And if you're so inclined, and this is your jam, go check them out on Reverb or whatever, because I think they're totally undervalued. All right, what do we got? Belgium. Nice. Welcome, Willie from Belgium. Dale from Texas. We're in Texas. I got family. I got family in Texas. I got family in Addison and in Plano. So tell me where you're at. What's background in music? What brought you out of Puget Sound? Well, I guess I've been playing guitar since I was 13, 14. And I grew up in a lot of places, but let's just say from about 8 on, I was in California, in Southern California, and just got bit by the guitar bug when I was in 8th grade or so, and it stuck. And so it's just been the ride ever since there. So everywhere I moved and lived in my life, it's always had a guitar with me, and brings me great sense of joy. When I figured out that I have a good enough ear to sort of learn songs that I could hear on the radio or on a record sort of by ear, then it was all over. This is all that sort of I wanted to do. Even though I don't do this for a living, but this is sort of my full-time hobby, if you will. I played in endless bands. I'm a total classic rock geek. And 1,000 times that, I'm a Beatles geek on top of that. Yeah. And then with COVID, a couple years ago, had the opportunity to move. Love the Pacific Northwest, but we just wanted to have something a little different. I've got 2 boys. My wife and I have 2 boys that are 13 and 15, and wanted to explore a little bit, and we're closer to family. Where we are, we decided to move close to Nashville, Tennessee. We're a quick day's drive or trip to both our sets of parents and in-laws. So that's how I got here. I don't think I answered your question, maybe, but there you go. Pickups are P90. No, these are not P90s. And even when you split the coils, it doesn't make it a P90. You hear a lot of people on videos say when you get sort of a PAF style pickup and you split the coil, it turns it into a P90. It does not turn it into a P90 at all. P90s are probably the greatest pickup ever, but they are very different from a split sort of straight humbucker. Angus, I love SGs, never taken the 3 pickup models, the middle pickup's in the way. Yeah, a lot of people talk about that. A lot of people actually take this middle pickup on 3 pickup guitars and they sink it all the way down. It can get in the way. I agree. I agree. All right. Love the traveling Riverside blues lesson. Can you give a tip on that picking repeating pattern on the high E that you discussed towards the end? Kind of think about that. Got to remember what I did at the end there. Caravaggio. Probably said your name wrong. But that is a great, great tune. Love that solo. Southpaw from Iowa. Nice. I got a good friend that's from Iowa City. He just went back to play with his old band there last week. Tom Kennedy. Great dude. Tom and Joe Kennedy. All right. So what else you want to know? I can start talking about my gear, but I don't know how interesting that is. Some people have asked me about that. I'll talk about my amps for a little bit. So that guy, that Vibrolux Reverb, it's a custom Vibrolux Reverb. It's a 1990, and it doesn't look like much, but that amplifier was owned by Brian Setzer. That particular one, like that one. And he was selling it on Reverb. He was selling his gear on Reverb a couple years ago, and I'm a huge Brian Setzer fan, and had to get it. Had to get it. I was also looking at the sort of blackface mid '60s models of that because it's an interesting. It's got two tens in there, and you can crank those up. It gets a little bit different. It's sort of like a deluxe, but it's a 210 configuration. I mean, I know the circuit's a little different, but it's sort of like that. But you can crank them up and get sort of a different tone with them. And that one was Brian Setzer's, and jumped on it. And very cool amp, very, very cool amp. You can dial a lot in with that. And I used that on one of my videos I did where I was breaking down Stray Cat Strut. Where I just played that incorrectly. But super cool amp. And the amp tech that worked on that did some modifications, so it sort of breaks up a little sooner. But man, that thing is it's definitely a hot rod. I tried to understand I tried to get an answer from his team, like, so where did you use it? Like, was that your sort of warm up amp in green room, or did you have it in your house, or any of that? But couldn't get any information on that. All right. Let's jump over here. That guy. That is a Tone Master, a Fender Tone Master Deluxe, and it's the blonde version. And if you're familiar with those Tone Masters, that series that Fender launched a couple years ago, I can't say enough about them. I mean, it is awesome. That one, they first came out with a blackface one, with a little bit of a different speaker, but they're great. It's actually a modeling amp, and you can use it just like a regular, traditional tube guitar amp. You can put a mic in front of it, play it traditionally, or you've got a XLR cable out from the back that has some, cab sims in there, and so you can run it direct. If you're playing live, you don't have to have sound come out of the speaker. You can actually run it out of that into your DI or in the front of house or your recording device. But the tones on that thing are awesome. The live tone out of the speaker is, to my ear, much better than what you get out of the XLR. But it's awesome if you want to get that cranked deluxe sound, and at normal volumes. It's got an attenuator on the back, and killer. and very affordable and very light. They're very fun to carry to carry around. All right. Bosch E-band JS10. Yep. Well, that's great. I'm not familiar with that amp. Um, Joe, what kind of bands were you in? Mostly cover bands. Just because I like playing the variety, and that's where you got sort of the most. I got sort of the most ability to play and play out and play live, and you can meet up with friends and play the songs that you love. But I did have an original band that I played in for a number of years in the Seattle area. It was called 5 O'Clock Somewhere, and had some fun. We had I think we did one CD that we put out late '90s. We recorded in Roger Fisher's home studio. Roger Fisher from Heart. We recorded that record in his home studio, and that was a treat. I got to see Raj play in the studio over there while we were, in between our songs. He's a great guy. Let's see, a guy needs 5 guitars minimum. That's right. I would agree with that. If you can. You don't need it, but we're all guitar players. We would love to have all the different tones, and if you can, I highly recommend it. How do I know? Ask Zach. I know Zach because we live in the same town, and fan of his channel. And one of his shows, he mentioned that he was in Franklin, where I live, or maybe he said it on the video, and I just reached out to him. I said, "Hey, just moved here. Love your channel, and I'm starting one of my own. And would you like to meet up for lunch or something?" And he was very gracious with his time, and agreed to meet with me. And so we had this. We've gone a couple times. We go to Thai food, and I pepper him with questions on how he's gotten to where he is, and all that kind of stuff. And he's one of these super well connected guys in the Nashville area here. He even teched for Brad Paisley and many others. He knows a lot, and he knows a lot of folks, and he's very gracious with his time, and I'm very appreciative. And just a great dude. So that's kind of how I know him. How heavy are those combo amps? I have a few Dean Markley vintage CD212s. The ones that I've got. Well, the Deluxe Reverb Tone Master is not heavy at all. The Vibrolux is not too bad. When I go play with a friend of mine here locally, I actually take those two amps. I take the Tone Master and I take that Vibrolux, because I run stereo out of my pedal board to get left-right stuff, and both of those are pretty easy to carry. But even that Vibrolux starts getting heavy. I've got a 64 Super Reverb here. That thing's heavy. And then this is a 63 Bassman. That's not a combo amp, so those come apart. But even those pieces are, I wouldn't say they are light. But yeah, combo amps, they're just heavy. Those big transformers, big old pieces of iron in there, they get heavy. 5 O'Clock Somewhere is a great band name. We thought so too. Thank you. I have to jump in here. John's hand loading. I have loved your channel. I just saw a video of yours like 2 weeks ago for the first time. Great stuff. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Angus, you seem to be able to work out your songs and your lessons very well. Has the ear developed, or have you always been good at that? Any tips for learning by ear? That is a very good question, Angus. And actually, a number of folks have asked me that. I would say early on, I discovered by accident, that I could hear something, or let me say it this way. When I was first learning guitar, I could hear something on the radio when I'm sitting with my guitar, and as long as I was sort of in tune, I could find where some of those notes were that were going by real quick. And at some point, I understood, where the home chord is, like in the key of B or whatever it was that I was listening to, um, and that I could just, if it was an album, I could pick up the needle, and or a cassette, I could play it and stop it and sort of find my way a little bit. So I always had the ability to sort of do that from the very beginning, I found. And I thought everybody could do that. A lot of people can do that, but I guess not everybody can do that. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that, if it's a gift or whatever it is, but I have that ability. I also have the ability, I discovered, that, in my head, I can sort of replay songs that I've heard in the past. And so I could be driving in my car and I'm hearing a song on the radio, or I'm not. I've got the radio turned off. I can sort of play a song back if I've heard it enough times in my head. And you're sort of doing mental reps with your hand. Like if I know, I can tell that's in G, that was a G chord that I was hearing on the radio or whatever it was. So I could just listen and I could picture myself playing it, and I could sort of work out, well, the next chord sounds like it would be a D. And I would go, I would go through that mentally. And by the time I would get home, I would have sort of practiced that song 2 or 3 times in my head or more. And then I would go and pick up guitar and I would find, yep, I was right there. Oh, no, it was a B minor, whatever it was. But I've sort of always had that ability or that gift, which I'm very grateful for. And it's helped me a lot, to the point where when I would try and actually learn how to read music, I still don't know how to read music. Because whenever I would try and get a lesson on how to read music, at some point they play you songs, they put sheet music in front of you of songs that like Mary Had a Little Lamb or something, or whatever it was. And as soon as I'm 3 notes into it, looking on the page, my play by ear would take over, and I would stop reading the notes and I would play the song, but I wasn't really reading the notes, and I just gave up. At some point, maybe I keep telling myself I'll learn how to read music, but for now, no. Let's see. Videos on how to play songs like the record are fantastic. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. I think I get it close. And here, you know what? This is another question that many people have asked me. Why are you doing these videos where you're saying a play like the record? Do we have to play it like the record? No, you don't have to play it like the record. And a lot of times, I'm not saying necessarily that I'm getting every single thing 100% note and fingering perfect than what you see on what you hear on the record. A lot of cases I am. I think I'm close. But I know there's some idiosyncrasies and things that I might still get wrong or might know. I'm still learning on things too. But the reason I started doing that is because when I was growing up, and if many of you or any of you are sort of close to my age, or you know, how well before internet. How did you learn guitar? You either learned by ear or you took lessons from somebody that knew a lot more than you. And if you wanted to learn a song, you could ask somebody to show you and that kind of thing. And 9 times out of 10, they would show you something and it was wrong. It would bug me. Like, I want to learn that part from the Edge on this U2 song or whatever it was. And they would say, yeah, I know it. And it'd be way wrong. Or even worse, they used to have like music books in record stores and things. And, for Beatles, for example, I would, the entire Beatles catalog, there's 1,000 of these music books, that I would, people would buy me. And I would look at it and I would take one look at it, and it was very basic cowboy chord kind of stuff. And immediately you could look at those and tell that it was wrong, like Yesterday, you look at the sheet of yesterday and it would say, well, yesterday, the first chord is G. And you were like, no, it can't be because that song is an F. Years later, you learn that you tune your guitar down a step and you play it with those shapes like G, which is what he did. But don't say it's G. Don't say it's in the key of G. And it would just bug me, right? So anyway, so I sort of am making these videos as if I was back being 13 and 14 and first learning guitar, what is it that I would want to see, right? Um, and so that's why I'm doing those videos. So I hope you enjoy them. I'm going to continue with those. I'll break out and do some other stuff with gear and other things too. But for a while, I've got a lot of songs, probably years of songs to be able to download into my brain and make those videos. So I appreciate you liking them. All right. I wish I have I have a Vibrolux and wish I bought a Deluxe. Well, I recommend that Tone Master, Dale. It's not as amps go, it's not super expensive, so that's a great deal. I think to buy a Fender 65 Princeton Reverb Tube guitar amp. Is that a good amp? Yes. Well, I haven't owned one. And depending on whatever your budget is, they make a couple different versions of that, the new reissue series. They make I think they call it like a 64 reissue Princeton Reverb, which is hand wired, which I think sounds a little bit better. But the Fender 65 reissues, the production ones, also pretty good amps. And the real thing, the vintage ones, those are going for crazy money right now, like $4,000 for an old, black faced Princeton Reverb, which is a lot of money. But they are one of the most heavily recorded amps in history. So, I mean, just that configuration is great. And if you're a Tom Petty fan, like I am, Mike Campbell is all over those Princeton Reverbs. He uses it on so much of what he does. Love Brian Setzer. Found your YouTube page. Learning won't stand in your way anymore. Love that song. Yep, love that song. That song gets no love. When that came out, I was 14 or 13 when that song came out, and yeah, totally got me. Slow down records to 16 back in the day. Yeah. Yep. I hear that. Speaking of Roger Fisher, I was trying my hand at Even It Up just yesterday. Yes. Raj is, he's a hell of a player, super creative. I love that he does some, wildly creative things with his tunings. If you haven't seen him talk about that video he's got where he talks about the tuning for Magic Man, that's one to check out. He tunes, I think he tunes the E and the B string, those high E and the B string. He tunes that up, like he tunes it up 3 frets. And so, when you do this, the song opens in G, and it goes down to that F chord, right? But he has those strings tuned up, so it sort of sounds like, which is this awesome different way. This sounds like garbage. Sorry. Yeah, big fan of Raj. I was able to learn by ear when I was younger. I find it harder as I get older. Maybe I'm just getting lazy. Just keep practicing. It's a muscle like everything else, You sort of lose it if you don't use it. Thank you for the radioactive lesson. Yeah, that one is really cool. All my life, that was one all my life. I just never. I mean, imagine trying to figure that out before the internet. Just impossible. Yeah, that's awesome. I love all things Jimmy Page. Jam 94. Hello, buddy. Right back at you. Because not like the record is no fun. I don't know. Sometimes, I feel like, I want to learn stuff like the record because I'm learning something new if I'm learning it. There's always something sort of technique wise that's in there that I didn't know. And then you can take that, and if you're writing your own music or playing your own thing, you can take those things and do with them what you will. But I don't know. I like learning things how I think they were recorded. Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah, I'll probably get to that. Those solos are super fun. And I don't know if they still have it, but where I live here near Nashville, one of the vintage guitar stores, Carter Vintage Guitar, he has the Sweet Home Alabama Strat, which is just you know, I think it's a 73 or 72, 3 or 4 Stratocaster that, you know, I forget the guy's name, the guitarist that played it. But it was a new guitar. It's not like he had some crazy vintage 50 whatever Strat. It was just a new Strat. Um, but he has it hanging on the wall there in Carter Vintage for a long time. I'll get to Sweet Home Alabama though. Check out Just Got Paid. That was fun. I got a lot more Billy Gibbons I need to do. I'm freaking old, and I guess I learned by ear. Many of us did, Joe. Pentagram Dave says Kiss Destroyer book was not like the record. None of them were. None of them were. And I don't know why. Like, why? Why would they make the books so blatantly off? I don't know. It was that way for everybody, for all the bands, I think. I heard earlier detuning was a half step lower. Not sure for what song, but a lot of songs are detuned. Let's see. Sweet Home Alabama. I'll get a lesson on that. Or are you saying playing it right now? That's all you're going to get right now for that. My 12-foot chain. Nice to see one of my favorite guitar gurus live. Oh, thank you. Love your lessons and teaching style. Any recommendations on 12-string acoustics? Good question. Not sure what your budget is. I have it's strung as Nashville tuning right now, but that guy that you see hanging up over there is a Yamaha Dreadnought 12-string that my dad got me when I graduated high school in 1986. And excellent. The Yamahas are excellent, and I know they're nothing special. They're not like highly coveted. They're not, But if you can find those good older 80s, early 90s Yamaha 12-string acoustics, the kind with the sort of the good binding on them, those are excellent. Guild has some excellent 12-string guitars. Not an authority on the subject, but I know that's my experience with them. I like the full size. I like the J200 size, the jumbo size ones. And I've heard some Guilds on that side, that size guitar that I enjoy. It projects really well. Are Jacksons and Charvels as good as 20 years ago? Joe, not sure. That's sort of not my wheelhouse, to be honest. We should get my brother on here. He knows that stuff. But you know, my brother just bought one of those newer sort of $1,100 ish Charvels. I don't recall the model number. I think it's double humbucker. Good guitars. I mean, it was great. They're great. And that's sort of one of the things I'm looking to explore. Like I haven't ever, my wheelhouse is not sort of the Van Halen and the 80s hairband stuff. I hated it when it was. I didn't hate Van Halen, but I didn't love like Poison and that kind of stuff when it was out. I love it all now. I think it's awesome now. But I thought it was lame then, and so I was never into those guitars. I was always into the classic stuff. So I don't know much about them, but we'll see if I can do something with my brother and he can educate us all on those. Um, let's see. Learning from the record gives you a point of reference. Yep. I love doing covers, but only when I do them well. Yeah, I know that feeling too. You want to feel like you're doing it right. Baby Blue was a revelation. Forever grateful for your lesson on that capo at 4. Who knew? I don't know it for sure. I don't. I suspect. I suspect. And I saw, and I've had some conversations with folks online where they actually saw them live back in the day, and he was playing with uh, not Pete, but the other guitar player was playing with the capo. So I have my suspicions, but it just sounds so clean when they do those runs. It just really sounded like it might be a capo to me because it'd be really, really talented to be able to do all that very cleanly at speed without a capo. I don't know. I don't know. I also got a lot of flack from people saying, "F no, it's not a capo." So um, ZZ Top new live recording came out today, and just got paid, and it's on the album. Yeah, I did that a while ago. I did that one last year at some point. I saw him live 2 years ago, and I think he had it tuned the way I was doing it in the lesson. Allman Brothers, good stuff. Yeah, greatness there. I haven't done any songs on Allman Brothers yet, but I will get to that. Yeah, they wrote the books for piano. That's probably true. Why the guitar ones were all wrong. It's probably true. Ed King, thank you. Yes, it was Ed King Strat. Um, yeah, Government Mule. Yeah, good stuff there. Yamaha makes good guitars. Guild. Yeah, so I agree there. Martins are picking guitars and not strummers so much. I've heard that, um, but that's not I'm not the authority there. But I have also heard that, Dale. You know that Jan Ackerman gets from Gibson a 75 years old guitar. He plays only with Gibson, so he plays an old 75-year-old Gibson. Wow. Um, all right. So hair bands are scary. They're fun, you know? I don't know what my trip was back in the day. They were okay. I liked them okay, but I was on such a classic rock purist where I just was like, I just wanted to learn Clapton and Beatles and Stones and Pink Floyd and Zeppelin, and so anything that was not that, I was just not gonna hear it so much. But there's greatness there. It's super fun. So one of these days I'm gonna get one of those guitars. Was my point? Was where I was going. I am gonna get one of those guitars. Um, and start building my chops on that stuff because some of that stuff is fun. The one band that sort of bridged that for me is Scorpions. I sort of don't think of them as a hair band, but they're sort of in that era, you know. But but they get that sort of that rock tone that they get is flipping amazing, incredible. All right, live Badfinger shows no capo. There you go. But when they play Baby Blue with no capo, how good does it sound? That's the thing. Because I've heard live shows where they're not using capo and they're not playing it. It doesn't sound like it at all. It's not like the record at all. So that's sort of my tension there. String tension. Speaking of tension, thanks for your advice on 12 string. Just looking at Yamaha and Sweetwater. Yep, look for older ones. I've been listening to Randy Jackson, Zebra. Yeah, he is a great player. The great capo debate. It's going to go on forever. There's a lot that capos come. I think there's a lot of songs that have capos in them that people don't necessarily know or would be surprised to know. Really glad you're into the music that you are. We dig it. Thank you, Mr. Joe. Yes, I agree. Scorpions are not a hair band. I agree. Okay. The Stones are great in Belgium, but to play in G, tuning my guitar, I don't like. Well, there you go. I sort of like the open G tuning. I learned it first from Zeppelin songs, because Jimmy Page has a lot that he does in that open G tuning, and I sort of didn't know that that was the Stones thing until a little bit later. But I've grown to like it a lot. But I know it's irritating for a lot of people to do the sort of retuning thing. If you're able to have one guitar tuned to that and then your other one tuned to standard, people get around it that way. Okay, Scorpions are musicians. Very true. Very true. I don't have the right tone dialed in for that, but that's Still Loving You. Greatness. Greatness. Wrong place. I'll do a video on that one. That's such an awesome, awesome song that I am right now not playing very well. Joe asks, any cool blues riffs? Well, I don't know. Cool is subjective. Lately, I've been really digging the sort of mixing the open string with a couple tones within like a dominant seventh chord. So, an A7, a basic A7 chord. Right? That's a dominant 7. I have come to learn. But if you just play the open A string and the dominant 7th, which is your G at 5, and your major 3rd, which is on the 6th fret of the G string, I like doing that kind of stuff. So I can move that over this way for a D. I don't know how cool that is, but I've been messing around with that the other day. I discovered that, and there's a lot sort of that I can build off on that. Didn't know about Stone's Open G for 40 years. What did we do for the internet? Let me tell you something. I sound like Fire Marshal Bob or Fire Marshal Bill. Let me tell you something. Is this not the best time to learn guitar? I mean, with all of the resources and things that are available to you now through the internet and YouTube, and you can even see the actual guys that played on those songs show you how they did it. You know what I mean? There's videos of name whatever artist you want, and there's a video of them probably talking through. Mike Campbell's got all these videos of him talking through. Where he does all these songs. We have the actual people telling you how and showing you how they do it. It's just the best time to learn guitar, in my opinion, ever in the history of mankind. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like guitar music is like whatever you want to call popular music today. That's fed to the masses. It's so not guitar driven, from what I can tell. And I'm not trying to be the old man, get off of my lawn about it, but it's true. you know. So there's this dichotomy of like it's the most resources ever. You could learn the fastest ever, and but there's sort of not this huge new musical influence as much. I'm just going to say as much as it used to be up until about 20, 25 years ago. So um, that's my rant on that. Um, Only Women Bleed uses 2 different G tunings. I'll take your word. I don't know that one very well. I love that you keep some flubs in your videos. You're a very fine player, but nice to know you can sound as bad as me at times. I can sound very bad at times. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to sort of endeavor to try and come off like perfection. And in fact, all the records I love, there's flubs in them, and sort of imperfections, right? And that's what makes it sort of real and not plastic. All right. Fill us in on your EDS 1275. What made you acquire that guitar to use it on more than one song? My EDS 1275. Is that the Yamaha? I think that's the Yamaha. Well, my dad bought it for me when I graduated high school. And at the time, I was into like 12 strings stuff like the Birds and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and you know, all that stuff that was like acoustic 12 string. Um, and he bought it. I don't remember. I guess I went to a shop with him and picked one out or played one and told him that that felt good. And then I forgot all about it. And he got it for my high school graduation present. So that's where that came from. And I will have that until I die. I love that guitar. Um, Wish it was around back then. I think you mean the internet. Yeah, me too. Sometimes. 2022. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Yeah, that's kind of true. Got the outro for American Girl from Mike C. Do I have that outro? Is that what you're asking? That one? I can do it badly, but it's like this. I'll just show it. You slide it up 2 frets. And then when you go to the G, you have to change it a little bit. It's you don't do exactly the same. You don't do. You have to do this note, and then back to this on the A. Oops. But I'll work on that. But that's where you play it. It's so totally more accessible and easy to learn today. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're right about today's music. Sounds like nursery rhymes. Yeah, a lot of it does. The modes like Santana and Dorian. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I am so late to the game on modes. I may be like you. I'm sort of ignorant of all of that. Or I do them and I don't know what I'm doing. Um, like I've heard, like I did a lesson on no quarter. That one, and the solo that he does in there is, I believe, I'm told is the Dorian, is based off of a Dorian scale. something like that. So one day when I become educated more about modes and what they are, it's hard for me to really mentally grasp what they are. I watch videos on them all the time. I'm trying, and I think I can see that it's going to unlock a lot in terms of soloing and all that, but it's just not my wheelhouse right now. No, I got it from Mike Campbell. So are you telling me that you met Mike Campbell, Dale, and he showed you that solo? I was not hybrid picking, but you're right, he does. I think he does. Forget it. You're gonna tell me though, I'm sure. 7 modes. I can only trust you that that's true. Love your show. Thank you, Joe. Santana 3, Teenage Neil, killing it. Don't really know what that means, but I will say, yeah. All right, let's just do a couple more here and call it good. My muscle memory has Alzheimer's when it comes to that outro. Yeah. Your playing sounds a lot like James, who does similar colors. I love James, and I miss James. I don't know why he's not doing videos anymore, but I think he stopped a while ago. And yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of his stuff too, and I like his vibe, and I feel like we're sort of close in age. I feel like we would be buddies. Never met the guy. I don't know where he lives. Um, but I sort of, yeah, I like James a lot too. Oh, the EDS 1275 is my double neck. Yes, thank you. Duh. Okay, so that double neck. So the story behind that is I had, I always wanted to have electric 12 string, and I had a Rickenbacker, like the Hard Day's Night Rickenbacker that George Harrison had. I had that for a number of years, and great guitar. But always wanted to have the 612 double neck, and so I sold that Rickenbacker, and I bought a couple things with the money that came from that, and this was one of them. I was debating whether or not to buy that or like the Fender. Fender does a Fender 12 reissue, like the ones they had in the '60s, which I still like. It's like has an offset body and 12 string. It's got like a hockey stick headstock on it. But I wanted a 12 string. I wanted a double neck. But the real one, the Gibson ones are like they're like 7 or 8 grand. I mean, it's just stupid money, right? If you have it, get it. And maybe one day I'll have money to be able to do that. But right now I don't. And through work, we actually have an account through Guitar Center and Sweetwater where we can get like the discounts. We can get some discounts off of gear. And they had that marked down because they were going to move to another model. In fact, let me get it. Hang on one second. All right, so they had this one marked down because the models that they, I think, went forward with, see where this thing is? If you look at Jimmy Page's, his, the string, the end where the string is attached to the guitar, it's even, I think, farther back. It's like back here. But I like the look of this better because it was farther back. And I don't think it makes any difference in tone or string tension. I may be wrong about that, but I don't know. So anyway, so I got this, and I think I got the white. I chose the white because the red in this one, I didn't like the veneer that they had on the Epiphones. And I did switch out all the pickups. So these are Lawler. Um, all four of these are Lawler pickups. And I found that the Epiphone pickup, the stock ones were, they were okay, but they just, I don't know, something just was lacking. So these things are super tough sounding, pretty high gain. I'll probably feature this. I'll probably do a whole lesson or a review of this. There's a lot to it. The Epiphones are a little different because they've got an extra switch. Like the Gibson's has a switch back here, which I believe is the pickup switch. It's the pickup selector switch. So down is the bridge, middle is both, and up is the neck, I think. And then down here, the switch that's down here is the neck one, is choosing which neck. So down is this neck and up is this neck. And I think there's an in-between. In-between has both of them on. But the Epiphones are designed a little differently. So these are the pickup switches for the necks. So that's the pickup switch for the lower neck. This is the pickup switch for the 12 string. And then this is the switch that chooses the neck on it. But I'm super happy with this purchase. And in fact, the one that I got, the necks, when I had the pickups put in, the guitar guy, the tech said, the neck is on the 12 string is really bowed badly to the point where it can't be fixed for intonation. And so I returned it to Gibson and they sent me another one. Just no questions asked. It was great. So this is actually that guitar the second one that they sent me. And the rosewood, the neck rosewood is darker on this one than the one that I got originally, which I think looks a little better. But I love this guitar, and the secret weapon of this guitar is the sixth. My mind, the tone that's on the sixth string on this, it doesn't sound like any other guitar. You would think it would sort of sound like an SG. It doesn't. It doesn't sound like anything, but it sounds like it's, the middle pickup position on this is a killer tone on this. So that's my story on that. Neil Schon all over that album. Yeah, he's amazing. Journey is in my future. Some Journey tunes for sure. Love your channel. Yours and Mr. Tabs go great together. Thank you, Nestor. How long you been playing? Did you go to music school? Self-taught? I'm 98% self-taught. 8th grade, I took a basic guitar class in school where they just taught you, sort of the basic chords. You could, with the pictures of the chords on the sheets. And, just learned that. And I actually, at that point, I wasn't actually into guitar. My mom actually made me take that class. But then, like I said, I discovered I could sort of pick out what I was hearing on a radio. I could actually pick out little parts of that song on the guitar. And when I figured out I can do that, then it was sort of all over, and guitar is sort of all I wanted to do. I didn't play sports anymore. I didn't want to do any of that anymore. I just wanted to do music. But pretty much self-taught. I think I've been to a couple lessons in my life. In my sort of 19-year-old self, went to some music teachers for short spurts, but nothing really stuck. And I mostly just self-taught. Mike Campbell video on the American Girl outro. That's a great video. I have a Fender American Strat with 2 custom shop Fat 50 single coil and 1 Diamondback. Yeah, I'll bet that sounds awesome. If I want a Gibson, which one do you recommend? Well, if you're used to playing a Strat, an SG is going to feel more at home to you, Willie, in my opinion. It did for me. Strat was my first guitar. In fact, that black one right there was my first electric guitar. Got when I was 15 or 16. Actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. My first one was a Fender Bullet, which is like a 3/4 scale learner guitar in the early 80s. But this was the first one that I sort of chose or bought. And anyway, so I grew up playing a Strat and didn't really play Gibsons. When I would try and play a Les Paul, it felt very foreign to me. It doesn't anymore. I got one and I got used to it. But the SG, the width of it feels a lot more like the Fender. So you may want to try an SG and you go play some stuff in the music store before you buy it, would be my advice. Hotel California, ready to go. Nah, I'm not going to do that right now. They are super picky about demonetizing video. If the bots detect too much Hotel California correctly played, it will demonetize my video. So, but I'll figure something out. I'll figure something out for future. Gorgeous guitar. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for this fun live stream. No problem, String Tension. Thank you for joining. All right, TJ, you're going to get the last question. Are you retired? I'm not retired. No, I got a full-time job. I'm a husband and dad, and I'm just a guy. I've got a job like everybody else. I just love guitar, and this is what I do on my sort of off time. So not yet retired. Not yet retired. So I don't know when that will happen, but I got a ways to go before that happens. All right, kiddos. Well, thanks so much for your time. I'm going to call it here. It was great seeing you all. I love answering your questions. I'm going to do this regularly. And for those of you by chance who have not checked out my Patreon page, I do now have a Patreon page, and I post tabs and chord charts for all the songs that I do videos on. And if you join, you'll have access to that. I'm going to be doing additional live streams and other exclusive content that you'll find on there. But there's 3 levels of membership, and check it out. I'll drop the address here if you want to check out. And also, one of the levels will get you some 12-foot chain guitar picks if you want a bunch of those. So go check it out. You can sign up and get some of those. But hey, thanks so much for joining. It was a lot of fun. This is my first one I've ever done, but I'll be doing these regularly, and love to hear from you through comments. If there's other stuff that you want to hear, other songs or other questions you want me to answer on future live streams, just let me know. All right. So until then, take care, everybody.